Eddie Jennings from ejsllc.com. This video is going to be another in my RHCE practice session series where I'm preparing for the Red Hat Certified Engineer exam. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite everyone, if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, to click that subscribe button and ring the bell when you do, so you can be notified of when new content comes available. Also, if you enjoy the content or find it useful, make sure you click that like button and feel free to share with others who might find it useful as well. In this video, we're going to continue working with storage devices under the Use Ansible modules for system administration tasks that work with section of objectives. And I do want to remind you that this isn't intended to be authoritative information, nor is it intended to be a tutorial, but rather it's an opportunity for me to go over the objective and try some examples to self-assess whether or not I am prepared to handle exam tasks with that objective. And at the end of the video, I like to think that I am, and then I can move on to some other review. Otherwise, I add it to my list of some things I need to be looking at between now and 2 weeks from now when I actually take the exam. But I do try to have the information as accurate as possible. So we left off with making some partitions, and we did some logical volume stuff. So I'm going to use the partitions that are on the disk that I used MBR partitions on to try to make a VDO volume using the Ansible module for it. So this, I know I don't have memorized. I haven't touched it a whole lot. I think a little while ago I did some basic practice and such with it before I started making some of these videos. So let's see how much I remember and how much I need to refer to the documentation. So we'll do VDO test.yml. Go ahead and do our normal stuff, testing VDO. Again, we'll just be doing this against that one host. Become yes and tasks. So the first task is going to be create VDO volume, and the module we'll be using for that is aptly named VDO. And for this, I believe we have to give it a name, and so we're just going to call this test VDO. We have to tell it physical devices, which I know that's not the right name of the option. We'll have to look at documentation for that. We need to do logical size, if I can spell, and state's going to have to be present. Now there's a lot more that you can configure with this. You can configure slab size and all sorts of stuff with that, but I'm just seeing if I can make just a basic volume with this. So let's do Ansible doc-s VDO and get the names of our options that we need. By default, compression and deduplication is enabled, which you can turn that off if you need. So grow physical, if we needed to make this a bit different, or rather, our block device has expanded, we can grow the physical volume that way. Looks like device, so not physical devices, but just device is what I need for that. And logical size, that makes sense. Apparently you can dictate threads for that. That's kind of cool. Didn't realize that. And when that video volume is running, which I would imagine that we'd want that to be enabled, but I think that's probably by default. And as I mentioned, we can do slab size and then state. So logical size was the thing I needed. So let's go back into our video test. So the device we need is going to be dev vdc1. And logical size, I do 10G. Now I do want to look at the full documentation for just a moment, because I remember back a video ago when I was working with parted, I really struggled with some of the syntax for sizing. So let's take a look and see what it is expecting. Again, I don't have this memorized. I am going to review it a bit before the exam just to kind of know what to expect, but this is probably not going to be one that I'll commit to memory. Now, of course, I say that, and then I'm sure I'll have nothing but VDO on the exam. But again, the point of the Red Hat exams is not memorizing everything, but it's being familiar enough to be able to find your answers if you need them. So let's see, logical size in megabytes or LVM suffix format. All right, that makes sense. That's where the G would come from with that. This is what you use with LVM. And the other thing I wanted to look at was running. So default null, yeah, that would make sense. And activated cannot be started. It will not start on the system. So initial created, So it will be set, activated will be set to off. So it will be activated and we have to tell it to be off. All right, so I think this is everything that I need for that. So let's go back into video test. So state is going to be present. And I remember back from the RHEL documentation about VDO and how to mount it. You would typically use dev mapper and then the name. I can't remember if UUID works with that or not. I would have to just experiment with that some. That's just something I don't have committed to memory. But what I do want to go ahead and do is make a file system on it and see if we can mount it, because that's can be a challenge with VDO. So this will create our VDO volume. Actually, I'm going to need to install some stuff. I didn't even think about that. Yep, so let's add some tasks here. Name, install packages. So what I want to install, let's see, yum, is it VDO and then kmod, kVDO I think is what I want. But we can do a quick search. Pretty sure it's VDO and then kmod, kVDO is what I would need for that. Yep. That is exactly what I need. So VDO test, this will be state present. And we also need to enable the service. So enable VDO service. We'll just use the service module for that. Name VDO, state started, and enabled yes. And this will be an example. What you might see on the exam, that you may have a thing of, all right, so make a VDO volume, but there are some other things you're going to need to do in order to be able to actually do the VDO volume, not just the VDO volume itself. So don't let that become a gotcha on your own exam. All right, so now we're going to create file system. So we'll do file system, FS type, we'll just use XFS for this. And we are going to need to do the no discarding of blocks, and that would normally be makefs-k. So something I want to look at real quick. Man makefs.xfs. So the -k is do not attempt to discard blocks at makefs time. So what I wonder is, because what I would have to do, let's take a look at man mount. What would be the of course, it's not going to have, that will give us what I want. I guess no discard. Actually, let's take a look at man makefs ext4, because that's like -e, and then I think you tell it no discard if I recall off the top of my head. Yeah, extended options. But does it give us, I want to think it's no discard is the name of that option. No discard, yeah. So I'll bet that's what it's going to be for XFS as well. So we'll go back to VDO test. So FS type is XFS. Source is going to be dev mapper test VDO. Path, we're just going to do MNT VDO. Ops is going to be no discard. Actually, we're going to need to do a couple of other things as well. So no discard. We need to do X systemd required equals VDO. And there was another that I remember reading, and I think it's X systemd device timeout, which from what I read on the device timeout, this probably isn't a 100% has to be in there. So I'm actually not going to do the X device timeout. And then state, we want mounted. All right, I think this will do what we want. Take a quick look at syntax, look this over. All this looks okay. Let's do a syntax check. VDO test. All right, didn't complain. And let's see what happens. Takes a couple of minutes to install the packages. Again, I don't have my VMs very powerful. All right, so I made the VDO volume, but the file system failed. And unsupported parameters for, did I misspell ops maybe? Let's see. Well, device, path, source, state. I realize what I've done. All right, so let's go back to VDO. I realize exactly what I've done. I'm writing file system, and I have like both file system and mount going in my head at the same time. So This should be an easy fix. Let's see, state present. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I have, I'm thinking of the mount module while I do file system. So device, that is correct. That's going to be dev mapper test VDO. And this I am going to do the no discard. All right, so now we will mount the file system. Because that's one thing for the exam. You might get ahead of yourself a bit, so watch out for mistakes like that. So fs type xfs. Now we would have source, and that source is going to be dev mapper test VDO. Ops. Actually, we'll just do the x systemd required equals yes. Oh wait, VDO. Path that we're mounting to, mount VDO, state mounted. I think that's everything I need for mount. All right, so let's try this again. So we should get OKs for the install packages and enabling a VDO service and making the volume. Just like with several of these videos, the thing that's been a challenge, which I thought would just be making the VDO volume, has not been the thing that's a challenge, but okay. So that I wasn't expecting. So does VDO volume not allow for something to be idempotent? Odd. I figured it would just be okay for that. So just to make sure that our file system and such is going to work, let us go back into here. I'm actually going to get rid of the create VDO volume test, or get rid of that particular task. That'll be something that I need to experiment with, is just the making of the VDO volumes. How to make that idempotent. Unsupported parameters. Dev force fs type. Alright, so let's go back into here. What am I messing up? OPTS device fs type state present. So let's take a look. So state apparently is not. I was fairly sure that that was a thing. No. Well, I guess that makes sense because that file system is there or not. It's like a one-time thing. So that, yeah, I could see how that makes sense. All right, and actually we're going to make a couple of tags here just to make this a little bit faster. So tags file system. We don't need to go through the other things anymore. We'll just run those two. Oh yeah, there's no, again, going too fast. Need to slow down. Playbook, VDO test. This should work better. I cannot win. So it's trying to do make fs -f no discard. I'm curious. So man make or mkfs xfs. I don't think I've ever used the -f flag before. Force override existing file system detected on the device. Then it tried to do -f no discard. So VDO, maybe I just need to tell it -k or -K for that matter. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, so that seems like that worked. That's kind of curious. I guess literally just the -K for that. You know, probably what I should have done was run the playbook with verbose or with some of the verbose options on, so I would see exactly what it was doing. So let's do Ansible lab rel an01 df-h b. Now this isn't going to give us, you know, real accurate information for VDO as far as size and such, or maybe I'm thinking of Stratus for that, because size 10G available 9.9G, because remember I'm over provisioning what I have here. All right, so that mounted. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot my VM. So let's do this. SSH lab rel an, or I guess could use Ansible for that, but I'd rather just n01 shutdown -h now. Of course I need to do that as sudo. I don't want to -h, I just want to -r. And I'm going to pause the video for a moment, and then when the VM comes back up, I want to make sure that our stuff is still mounted as it should be. All right, so let's go back. SSH lab rel an01 df-h. So it is mounted. One thing that I had to do, I ended up having to force reset. So clearly I need to do some video troubleshooting between now and the exam. So I'll probably have to carve out a day to practice with that and test a couple of things out. But at least the initial creation of the video volume seems like it worked, but there was the issue of idempotent. So I would say for this particular objective, I am not passing. Now, just storage in general, yeah, I would pass with that. But if I'm throwing something with video, then clearly I'm going to need to do some more preparation for that. So maybe I should call it a half pass. Anyway, I just know that video is still a bit of a thorn in my side, and I'll bet if I were to work with it every day, it wouldn't be as much of a problem. I do want to thank you for taking the time to watch. Hopefully this was useful for you as far as your own studies, kind of seeing some of the things I struggle with, and for some of it how I overcame it, and for others how I just recognized that I need to do some more work on it. If you did enjoy this, make sure you do click like. Also, thank you to returning subscribers for watching another video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do click that button to subscribe. Feel free to leave comments. You can ask questions, leave praise, leave criticism. I'll respond as I have both time and ability, and I will see you the next time.